The scent of decay is the first thing I learned to trust. Not the sweet decay of hay turning to mulch in the rain, but the sharp, acrid rot of a festering wound on a griffin's flank, or the sour smell of fierce sweat on a stallion about to kick. Here in the royal stables, scent is truth. It is a language more honest than any words spoken at court. My own scent is one of shame. It's faint, thin, the scent of an omega. Worse, it's the scent of the wolfless. In a world of shifters, of proud wolves and lichens bound to the royal bloodline, I am a void, a blank space where a soul ought to be. My name is Ilara, and I am less than nothing. My life is a rhythm of straw, water, and coarse feed. I muck out stalls, brush down beasts whose hides are worth more than my entire existence, and I keep my head down. The other stable hands, low-ranking as they are, still have their wolves. They have the warmth of the pack, the thrum of belonging that I can only watch from a distance. They look at me and see a mistake, a broken toy. So I find my solace not with people, but with the creatures they command, and most of all, with him, Vorlag. His name is a rumble of thunder spoken only in whispers. He is the oldest of the royal beasts, a lichen of impossible size, his fur the color of a gathering storm, his eyes chips of ancient amber. He is a relic, a living monument to a time when alphas were forged in true fire, not just born to it. For 100 years, he has refused a rider. Alphas, including the current king, have tried to claim him, to bend his colossal will to theirs. Every one of them has been met with a silence more damning than any roar, a stillness that sends them away humbled and furious. He is the king's beast in name only. His loyalty is to the memory of the throne, not the man who currently sits upon it. But with me, he is different. He allows my touch. When I clean his enclosure, a space larger than any 2 rooms in the castle proper, he watches me with those knowing eyes. He never moves suddenly. Sometimes, when my loneliness is a physical weight pressing down on my chest, I will rest my forehead against his massive warm flank. A low purr, a vibration that feels like the turning of the world itself, will answer me from deep within his chest. He smells of old stone, deep earth, and the clean, sharp scent of ozone. Before a storm, he smells of power held in perfect stillness. He is the only creature in this entire kingdom who does not make me feel small. Today, the air is different. It is thick with anticipation, cloying and sweet. It is the day of the choosing ceremony. Alpha King Kalen, having ruled for 5 years without a mate, will finally allow the moon goddess to guide him. Every unmated female in the territory has been summoned to the Great Hall. Even me. A summons was delivered by a sneering guard, the parchment feeling like a death sentence in my hands. The idea is laughable, a cruel joke. Me, the wolfless Omega stablemate, standing in a hall of proud, beautiful she-wolves, their scents blooming with power and ambition. I am scrubbed raw and pushed into a borrowed dress that smells of another woman's floral perfume and mothballs. The fabric is coarse against my skin. I stand at the very back of the hall, trying to merge with the shadows of the tapestries, my own scent a pathetic whisper of rain and oats against the roaring bonfire of fertile she-wolves around me. The air is a cacophony of scents, rose, citrus, musk, spice, all of it screaming, "Pick me, choose me, I am worthy." My stomach churns. I just want to be back in the quiet, honest dark of the stables with Vorlag. Then he enters, Alpha King Kalen. He is everything the stories say. Tall, forged from power, with hair as black as a wolf's pelt and eyes the color of ice. His scent floods the hall, silencing all others. It is the scent of a winter forest, sharp with pine, cold with frost, and underscored by the raw metallic tang of dominance. He walks with a predator's grace, his gaze sweeping over the assembled females. Disinterest, cool assessment. One by one, he passes them, and one by one, their hopeful scents curdle into disappointment. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage of bone. I stare at the stone floor, praying to be invisible, to be nothing more than a shadow on the wall. Please, just let this end. Let me go back to my quiet life of insignificance. He moves down the line, closer and closer to my hiding place at the back. I can feel the sheer force of his presence, a pressure against my skin. Then he stops. The entire hall holds its breath. The silence is absolute. I dare not look up, but I do not have to. A scent, new and yet familiar, cuts through the air. It is not just his scent of pine and frost. It is my scent of oats and rain, twisted together with his, creating something new, something devastating. It smells of mountain air after a storm, of ancient earth and fresh snow. It is the scent of a faded bond, undeniable and absolute. Slowly, I lift my head. His eyes, those chips of ice, are locked on me, and for a single, shattering moment, I see past the king. I see the man and the wolf within him. I see shock, and I see a flicker of raw, possessive hunger that makes my knees weak. Mate, a voice whispers in the deepest part of my mind, a voice I have never heard before. It is not a thought, but a feeling, a primal truth that rocks my entire being. For the first time in my life, I feel a spark of something other than emptiness inside me. It is hope, terrifying and beautiful. The court follows his gaze. A collective gasp ripples through the hall as they see who has captured their alpha king's attention. The stable maid, the wolfless Omega. The whispers start instantly, like the hissing of snakes. Her? The broken one? It's not possible. I see the change in Kalen's eyes. The raw shock is shuttered, replaced by a mask of cold fury. The hunger is gone, smothered by something else. Pride, annoyance, shame. His gaze sweeps over my threadbare dress, my calloused hands, and I feel his judgment like a physical blow. He smells my rank, Omega, and my flaw, wolfless, and his jaw tightens. A council member, a silver-haired elder with a cruel twist to his mouth, leans in and murmurs something in the king's ear. Kalen's expression hardens further. He takes a step toward me, and the crowd parts as if I am diseased. Every eye in the kingdom is on me. My hope, that fragile, newborn thing, shrivels and dies. The silence stretches, thin and sharp. I can feel the weight of his decision, the fate of my entire world resting on his next words. He stops directly in front of me, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body, close enough that the scent of our bond is an intoxicating, suffocating cloud around us. He looks down at me, his face carved from stone. The moon goddess must be mistaken, he says, his voice a low, carrying growl that echoes in the cavernous hall. The words are not just spoken, they are a judgment, a verdict. I, Alpha King Kalen of the Blackwood Pack, reject this bond. Pain. It is not a metaphor. It is a physical force, a blade of pure ice plunging into my chest and shattering my soul. The fragile spark I felt inside me is extinguished, leaving behind an agony so profound it steals the air from my lungs. The scent of our bond sours, turning from a promise to a poison. I can feel it tearing, a soundless scream in the space between us. A wave of dizziness washes over me, and I sway on my feet. Through a haze of shock, I see the smirks on the faces of the court ladies, the sneers of the guards, the cold satisfaction in the elders' eyes. I have been publicly, viscerally humiliated. Kalen does not look at me. He cannot. He turns his back on me, a gesture of finality that is as brutal as any execution. The pain intensifies, a cold fire licking through my veins. He addresses the hall, his voice tight with forced control. The ceremony is over, but he cannot hide the tremor in his hands, the faint sheen of sweat on his brow. The rejection is wounding him too. A small, vicious part of me finds satisfaction in that. I am left standing alone in the center of a circle of scorn. No one will meet my eyes. I am a ghost, a pariah. The guards seize my arms, their touch rough and impersonal. I do not fight. I have nothing left to fight with. They drag me from the hall, my borrowed dress trailing in the dirt. I expect to be thrown into a dungeon or cast out of the territory to die. Either would be a mercy. But Kalen's final command is a special kind of cruelty. She will remain in the stables, he had decreed, his voice ringing with cold authority as I was being removed. She is not to leave the grounds. I will not have the source of this error in my sight. It is not exile. It is a cage. My world, already small, shrinks to the size of the stable yard. I am to be imprisoned with my shame, forced to live out my days, breathing the scent of the man who broke me, a constant reminder of what I can never have. They throw me back into the straw of an empty stall. The rough wool of the dress scratches my skin, a petty discomfort on top of a mountain of agony. The stable doors slam shut, plunging me into familiar darkness. But the darkness is no longer a comfort. It is a suffocating blanket. The pain from the broken bond is relentless. It is a hollow ache in my bones, a freezing fire in my blood. My wolf, the one I never knew I had, which had spoken for the first and only time, is silent. Its absence is a new kind of emptiness. I curl into a ball, my body trembling with shock and grief. Tears burn my eyes, but I refuse to let them fall. Crying is a luxury for those who have hope of being comforted. I have no one. A soft shuffling sound pulls me from my stupor. A massive dark shape fills the entrance to the stall. Amber eyes glow in the gloom. Vorlag. He pushes the stall door open with his head as if it were a willow branch and steps inside, his presence filling the small space. He lowers his colossal head and nudges my curled form, his muzzle soft against my cheek. The scent of old stone and ozone washes over me, a clean scent in a world that has turned foul. He makes a low sound in his chest, a mournful rumble of shared pain. He knows. Of course, he knows. He is more attuned to the truths of this world than any of us. I finally break, a sob tears from my throat, raw and broken. I bury my face in the thick fur of his neck, and I weep. I cry for the hope that was born and died in the same instant, for the shame burned into my soul, for the unending agony of a bond rejected. Vorlag stands perfectly still, a warm, solid mountain in the ruins of my life, absorbing my grief. As my tears subside, replaced by an exhausted, hollow calm, something stirs deep within me. It is not the nascent wolf from before. It is something else, a flicker of cold anger, a spark of defiance in the vast, cold emptiness of my chest. Not weak, the voice whispers again, faint but clear. Survive. I lift my head from Vorlag's fur. My tears have wet his coat, but he does not move away. I look into his ancient, knowing eyes. Kalen may have rejected me. The world may have cast me out. But I am not dead yet, and I am not alone. I will survive this, not for a king, not for a pack, but for myself, and for the one creature in this world who has shown me loyalty. That is my promise, made in the dark, witnessed only by a silent ancient beast. 3 months later, the sharp, soul-tearing agony of the rejection has settled into a dull, persistent ache. It is the first thing I feel when I wake in my small cot in the tack room, and the last thing I feel before falling into a restless, dream-haunted sleep. It is a constant companion, a ghost limb that throbs with phantom pains. My life is a small, repeating circle. Wake, tend the beasts, clean the stalls, feed Vorlag, sleep. The stables are my world, the stone walls my horizon. I am a prisoner, but I am also the master of this small, forgotten kingdom of hay and leather. The other stable hands give me a wide berth. They look at me with a mixture of pity and fear. The rejected mate of an alpha king is a bad omen, a disruption to the natural order. They leave my food on a bench outside the tack room and scurry away, as if my bad luck is contagious. Their shunning is a blessing. Their absence leaves me in peace, alone with my work and with Vorlag. Our bond deepens in the silence. He has become my shadow, my guardian. He follows me as I do my chores, his massive form a silent, protective presence. He is teaching me, though I do not realize it at first. When I haul heavy buckets of water and my arms tremble with fatigue, he will nudge my back with his great head, a firm, insistent pressure that tells me to keep going. He walks the perimeter of the stable yard with me each dawn and dusk, forcing me into a steady, loping pace that has stolen the softness from my body and replaced it with lean, hard muscle. He brings me offerings, a freshly caught rabbit laid carefully by my door, a honeycomb, dripping with golden sweetness, nudged into my hand. He shares his own food, pushing the choicest pieces of raw meat towards me with his nose. At first, I was repulsed, but hunger and a strange, primal instinct I do not understand compel me to eat. The raw, vital energy of it sings in my blood. I am changing. My body is stronger, faster. My senses, always sharp from my time in the stables, are becoming unnaturally keen. I can smell the moment the hay begins to turn, hear the frantic heartbeat of a mouse hiding in the walls, see the individual feathers of a hawk circling high overhead. The whispers in my mind have grown from a faint flicker to a steady, quiet presence. It doesn't speak in words often, but in feelings, in urges, stronger, faster, see, hear, know. It feels like a part of me that has been asleep for a lifetime is slowly, cautiously beginning to wake. I do not know what it is, this inner voice, but it is not the voice of a wolf. It is something older, quieter, and darker. The first true test of this change comes on a sweltering afternoon. The air is heavy and still. I am in one of the far stalls, grooming a nervous mare, when two of the junior guards appear. They are young, arrogant, their uniforms ill-fitting. They often find excuses to loiter near the stables, far from the watchful eyes of their superiors. Usually they ignore me. Today, they do not. "Look what we have here," the taller one sneers, his scent thick with cheap ale and a sour sort of bravado. The king's little cast-off, still playing in the dirt. I keep my back to them, my hand steady on the mare's flank. "I am busy," I say, my voice flat. "Busy being worthless?" The second one laughs. He steps into the stall, crowding me against the wall. The mare shifts nervously, her ears flattening. The king should have just put you out of your misery. An honorless, wolfless thing like you. He reaches out, his hand grasping for my arm. Before he can touch me, a sound rips through the air. It is not a growl. It is a roar, a tectonic shift of sound that comes from the very foundations of the earth. The stone walls of the stable tremble. The guards freeze, their faces draining of color. Forlock stands at the entrance of the stall, his body lowered, his lips peeled back from teeth like daggers. His amber eyes are blazing furnaces. He has been utterly silent, a mountain of fur and muscle, but now he is the embodiment of pure, ancient rage. The first guard, recovering a fraction of his courage, draws his sword, a foolish, fatal mistake. "Get back, you overgrown mutt," he shouts, his voice cracking. As he takes a step forward, a surge of pure, cold fury floods my own veins. It is not my anger. It is the anger of the voice inside me, a protective instinct so powerful it eclipses everything else. Mine. Protect. The world seems to slow. A shadow at the edge of my vision, darker than any natural shade, flickers and coalesces. The guard lunges, not at Vorlog, but at me. And the shadow lunges with him. There is no sound, only a sudden rush of cold air. The guard is thrown backward as if struck by a battering ram. He flies out of the stall and slams into the far wall of the stable, crumpling to the ground in a heap of armor and broken bones. His companion stares, his mouth agape in terror, first at his fallen comrade, then at me. I look down at my hands. They are trembling. I did not touch him. I did not move. But I felt it. A flow of power, dark and cold, rushing from my core and striking him down. Vorlog steps forward, placing his body between me and the remaining guard. He lowers his head and lets out a low, guttural growl, a promise of death. The guard drops his sword with a clatter, scrambles backward, and flees, his screams echoing through the yard. I stare at the unconscious man on the ground, then back at my own hands. What was that? What am I? Vorlog nudges me, his presence a calming anchor in my sea of confusion. He looks from me to the fallen guard, and then back again. There is no surprise in his ancient eyes, only confirmation. He knew. He knew what I was all along. The whispers in my mind are louder now, clearer. Power, ours, Shadow Caller. The name hangs in my thoughts, alien and yet familiar, as if from a forgotten dream. I am not wolfless. I am something else, something thought to be extinct. A descendant of a lineage whose magic was one of shadow and twilight, a power that could rival any alphas. My perceived flaw, the emptiness where a wolf should have been, was never a void. It was a space waiting to be filled by something far older and far more powerful. News of the incident travels through the castle like wildfire. The story becomes twisted in the telling. The stable maid, driven mad by her rejection, has somehow enchanted the old beast. That Vorlog, the untamable lichen, attacked a royal guard to protect me. It is a scandal, a mystery, and it changes everything. An order comes down from the king himself. I am to be brought before him for questioning. But when the captain of the guard arrives with a full retinue, they find their way barred. Vorlog stands before the main stable doors, utterly immovable. He does not growl or show his teeth. He simply stands there, a silent, unbreachable wall of muscle and fur. They try to go around. He moves to block them. They try to coax him with meat. He ignores it. They shout commands. He is as deaf as the stones he stands on. The captain, a grim, weary man, eventually gives up. He sends a messenger to the king. The report is simple. The beast will not allow anyone to lay a hand on the maid. Kaelin cannot risk harming a creature so tied to the legend of his throne, not for a stable maid he has already cast aside. And so, a strange new reality settles. I am still a prisoner, but now my cage has a formidable guardian. I am no longer just the rejected Omega. I am the beast's keeper. No one dares to bother me. No one dares to command me. They leave my food, better food now, on the bench and hurry away. They look at me not with pity, but with a new kind of fear. I am an untouchable, an anomaly. Isolated, yet in a strange way. More powerful than I have ever been. And every day under Vorlag's patient tutelage, I practice. I learn to call the shadows, to feel the cold, dark power that flows in my veins. It answers to me, a loyal and silent servant. My flaw has become my weapon. My shame is becoming my strength. My world is the scent of pine and frost, a ghost that haunts the edges of my senses. It is the memory of Kaelin's face, the cold fury in his eyes as he broke me. I see him sometimes, a distant figure on a high balcony of the castle, looking down toward the stables. I feel his gaze like a physical touch, and the dead bond between us throbs with a dull, aching memory of what might have been. He is the king, and I am the maid in the stables. But the balance of power, I am beginning to realize, has started to shift. I watch her from the balcony of my solar, a glass of untouched wine growing warm in my hand. It has become my nightly ritual, this self-inflicted torture. Down in the stable yard, Ilara moves with a grace that was not there 3 months ago. The girl who stood trembling before me in a borrowed dress is gone. In her place is a woman, lean and strong, her braid of brown hair swinging as she walks the perimeter with that beast, Vorlag, at her side. My beast. The lichen who has never given me so much as a glance of acknowledgement now follows her like a loyal hound. My wolf, the beast within me, paces relentlessly behind my ribs. Mate. Our mate. Strong. We hurt her. The litany is constant, a drumbeat of self-recrimination that has not ceased since the moment I spoke those catastrophic words. Rejection. I, an alpha king, rejected my fated mate. The shame of it is a physical illness. I did it for pride, for politics. I saw her status, smelled her lack of a wolf, and I listened to the venomous whispers of my counsel. I chose the appearance of strength over the truth of my own soul, and now I am paying the price. The bond, though I declared it broken, is not gone. It is a festering wound deep inside me. It aches with a cold that no fire can warm. I cannot sleep for more than an hour at a time. The scents of the eager, ambitious she-wolves who parade themselves before me are repulsive, turning my stomach. My own power, the very core of my alpha authority, feels frayed at the edges. My commands are a fraction slower to be obeyed. The pack feels my weakness, my distraction. They feel the wrongness of a king without his mate, an alpha whose own wolf is at war with him. Fool, he snarls in my head. Coward. You threw away the moon for fear of what the stars would think. And she is not just surviving her punishment. She is thriving in it. The reports of the incident with the guards both infuriated and intrigued me. Vorlag, attacking a man in my uniform. And her, the whispers of shadow, of a man thrown without being touched. I do not believe in old wives' tales of shadow callers, but I believe the terror in the guard's eyes when he gave his report. I believe the unyielding presence of that ancient beast who now guards her like the crown jewels. He has chosen her over me, over his king. The jealousy is a poison, slow and potent. Today, a new complication arrives. Alpha Reese of the Sunstone Pack is here to finalize a trade treaty. His pack is powerful, their lands rich in minerals we need. He is everything I am supposed to be. Calm, confident, his power a steady, warm sun to my raging, uncontrolled storm. He is polite and respectful during our negotiations, but his eyes keep drifting toward the window, toward the stable yard. During a recess, he stands beside me on the balcony. He follows my gaze down to where Ilara is brushing Vorlag's massive flank, her movements fluid and sure. She is magnificent, Reese says, his voice soft with genuine admiration. My hand tightens on the stone railing. She is a stable maid. Is she? Reese turns to me, his gaze analytical. I see a woman who has tamed the untamable. I smell the scent of rain and earth on her, but also the lingering ghost of pine and winter frost. A broken bond. And I smell a power that has nothing to do with a wolf, something quiet and deep. He looks at me, and I see not judgment, but a kind of pity in his eyes. You made a grave error, King Kalen. My pride rears its ugly head. My choices are my own. Indeed, he says, turning back to watch her, which makes your suffering entirely of your own making. Later, I see him walk down to the stable yard. My guards move to intercept him, but I give a sharp, silent signal for them to stand down. I will not show this visiting alpha that I fear him. I watch, my teeth grinding together, as Reese approaches her. Vorlag raises his head, a low rumble in his chest, but Ilara places a calming hand on his neck. She speaks to the beast, her voice too low to carry, and he settles. She turns to Reese, her expression guarded but not hostile. He does not crowd her. He keeps a respectful distance, bowing his head slightly. He offers her a small basket. From this distance, I can smell it. Fresh bread, cheese, and fruit from the high table. Food he brought himself. My food, from my kitchens, given to my rejected mate by another alpha. The rage that crashes through me is so potent it makes my vision swim with red. Ours! My wolf howls, clawing at the cage of my ribs. He touches what is ours. She accepts the basket. They talk. I cannot hear the words, but I see the rigid line of her shoulders relax. I see a small, hesitant smile touch her lips. A smile. I have never seen her smile. The sight of it, a gift given to another man, is like a dagger twisting in the festering wound of the bond. He makes her smile. All I have ever given her is pain and humiliation. While my kingdom slowly rots from the inside out, a mirror of my own soul, a true threat gathers on our borders. For weeks, reports have trickled in from the northern villages. Shadows that move, creatures of nightmare, the umbra that drain the life from livestock and people, leaving behind nothing but desiccated husks and a fine gray dust. They were supposed to be myths, creatures banished in a forgotten age. But the terrified refugees who have begun to pour into the capital tell a different story. The threat is real. My war council is in chaos. Our patrols are ineffective. The creatures are like smoke. They cannot be fought with swords and arrows alone. They seem to fade before a blow can land. Our pack is unsettled. Our borders are weakening. And my own strength, the alpha power that should be a bulwark for my people, is diluted by my inner turmoil. The royal seer, an ancient woman whose eyes see the threads of what is and what might be, delivers her pronouncement this morning. The Umbra are drawn to a great power, your majesty, she rasped, her voice like dry leaves skittering across stone. A power that has awoken in your very shadow. But the thing they are drawn to is also the only thing that can repel them, a deep darkness to fight a consuming one. I have felt it, a strange, cold energy signature. It emanates from the royal stables. The stables. Her. The Umbra are drawn to her. The pieces click into place with sickening certainty. The shadow caller. The myths are true. And the last of them, the source of this immense power, is the girl I cast aside and locked away. The irony is a bitter poison on my tongue. The survival of my kingdom, the lives of my people, now depends on the one person I have wronged more than any other. I must go to her, not as a king giving an order. The time for that is long past. I must go to her as the man I am, broken, desperate, and begging. I dismiss my guards, ignore the concerned calls of my council, and walk out of the throne room. Every step toward the stables is a step through the wreckage of my own pride. I see her face as I rejected her, the light in her eyes dying. I feel the tearing of the bond, a wound that has refused to heal. My wolf is silent now, watching, waiting to see if its foolish human half can finally do something right. As I step out of the castle and into the stone-paved yard of the stables, the world tilts on its axis. The dull, constant ache of the bond explodes into a supernova of sensation. It is agony, 1,000 blades of ice and fire scouring me from the inside out. But beneath the pain, there is a current of pure, intoxicating ecstasy. It is the feeling of a starving man being shown a feast. Mate! My wolf screams, a sound of pure, primal need. The force of it brings me to my knees. I gasp, clutching my chest, the scent of her, rain, earth, and that new, terrifying hint of ozone and shadow, overwhelming my senses. Across the yard, she stumbles back a step, one hand flying to her own chest. I see the shock on her face, the way her eyes widen. She feels it too. Of course she does. The bond, dormant and wounded, has roared back to life at our proximity, stronger and more demanding than before. She recovers quickly, her training, her hardship, forging a control I can only envy. She straightens her spine and her face becomes a mask of cold, impenetrable ice. Forlag moves instantly, a fluid ripple of storm-gray muscle. He places himself between us, his massive body a living wall. His head is low, and a growl that vibrates in my very bones rumbles from his chest. It is not the warning he gave the guards. This is a promise of annihilation. He is hers completely. I force myself to my feet, my legs trembling. My royal composure is a distant memory. I am stripped bare, just a male, aching for his mate. Ilara, I say, and my voice is a raw, broken thing I barely recognize. She looks at me, and her eyes are colder than the ice in my veins. There's no trace of the frightened girl from the Great Hall. This is a woman who has walked through fire and made it her home. I need your help, I managed to choke out, the words tasting like ash. Her lips curve into a smile that holds no warmth, no humor. It is the sharp, beautiful edge of a razor. You need something from the stable maid, Your Majesty? She asks, her voice perfectly even, each word a carefully placed stone, building a wall between us. The formal title is a deliberate mockery, a reminder of the station I used to condemn her. She is no longer beneath me. In this moment, surrounded by her power, guarded by my ancestors' beast, She is the one who holds all the cards. I can smell it on her now, the power I was too blind to see before. It's not the scent of an omega. It is the scent of deep space, of twilight, of ancient, fathomless shadow. And it is the most intoxicating thing I have ever known. Her refusal to be cowed, her cold authority, is both a knife in my gut and a source of profound, unwilling admiration. She has every right to her hatred. I earned it. The kingdom is in danger, I say, forcing the words past the lump of pride in my throat. Creatures called the Umbra are attacking the northern territories. They are drawn to power, Ilara. They are drawn to you. She doesn't flinch. Her cold gaze remains steady. And why should the fate of your kingdom concern me? This kingdom cast me out. This king cast me out. I know, I say, my voice dropping. I know, and I am not here to command you. I am here to ask. The word feels foreign on my tongue. To beg if I must. People are dying. They are innocent. Whatever you feel for me, and you have the right to feel nothing but contempt, they do not deserve to suffer. She is silent for a long moment, her eyes searching my face. She is looking for the lie, the manipulation. She finds none. There is nothing left in me but raw, desperate truth. Vorlog, sensing the shift in the tension, quiets his growl, but remains firmly planted in front of her, his amber eyes never leaving me. The Umbra, she says finally, the name a soft whisper. I have felt them, like cracks in the world. She looks away from me, her gaze turning inward. The air around her seems to cool, the shadows in the corners of the stable deepening for a fraction of a second. They are repelled by what I am. So the seer was right, I breathe. You can fight them. I can, she confirms, her eyes snapping back to mine, sharp and assessing. But my help comes with conditions. Anything, I say instantly, and I mean it. I would give her my crown, my castle, my very life if she asked for it. I will help protect the city, she states, her voice ringing with newfound command. But I do so as an ally, not as your subject. I am the keeper of Vorlog. My place is here, in these stables. I will not be moved to the castle. I will not be your pawn, your secret weapon to be hidden away until needed. And you and I, she adds, her voice dropping to a low, intense pitch that makes the hairs on my arms stand up, are nothing to each other. The bond is a phantom, an echo. It means nothing. Is that understood, Your Majesty? Each word is a fresh cut on an open wound, but I nod. I have no choice. I have no right to ask for more. Understood. And so our strange, torturous alliance begins. As dusk falls, she meets me on the eastern battlements, the side of the city closest to the encroaching threat. Vorlog is with her, a mountain of shadow at her side. The guards on the wall shrink away from them, their fear a palpable scent on the air. She ignores them, her focus entirely on the dark woods beyond the walls. The proximity is a constant, grinding torment. The bond screams between us, a high-tension wire humming with need and pain. I stand a few feet from her, my muscles locked tight, fighting the overwhelming urge to reach for her, to touch her, to fall to my knees and beg her to end this agony. But I keep my promise. I keep my distance. I am the king, and she is the stable maid, and we are nothing to each other. A bitter lie we are both forced to live. As true darkness falls, they come. At first, they are just whispers of movement in the trees, patches of night that are darker than the rest. Then they coalesce, pouring from the woods like black smoke, forming into hunched, vaguely humanoid shapes with grasping claws and no faces. A cold that has nothing to do with the night air washes over the wall. The archers fire, but the arrows pass through the creatures as if they are mist, clattering uselessly against the ground beyond. The umbra flow toward the wall, their presence a drain on the very life force of the world around them. The guards groan, their energy sapped, their movements becoming sluggish. Ilara steps forward to the edge of the battlement. She closes her eyes and holds out her hands. "Go," she whispers, and the word is not a request. It is a command. The shadows around her feet deepen, stretching out from her like ink spilled in water. They flow over the edge of the wall, silent and swift, and meet the advancing umbra. Where her shadows touch them, the creatures recoil, dissolving with a faint hissing sound, like water on a hot stone. She is a bastion of cold, dark power. She stands alone against the tide, her face pale in the moonlight, her expression one of intense concentration. I stand beside her, my sword in hand, though I know it is useless against this foe. My role is to guard her body, to stand as a physical shield while she wields a power I cannot comprehend. For hours we stand together, a king and his rejected mate, bound by a war and a broken bond, fighting back the darkness. The forced proximity is the cruelest of tortures and the most exquisite. The nights blur into a grueling routine of shared watchfulness and agonizing proximity. During the day, I attend to a kingdom on the brink of panic. At night, I stand beside her on the wall, watching as she single-handedly holds back the tide of shadow. We barely speak. The space between us is charged with unspoken words, with the screaming of the bond. Sometimes, I catch her looking at me, her expression unreadable, before she quickly looks away. I see her with Reese. He has delayed his departure, citing the instability of the roads. A convenient excuse. He seeks her out in the stable yard during the day, bringing her books from the royal library, or simply sitting with her while she tends to Vorlag. I watch from my balcony, a silent, impotent observer as he makes her laugh. It is a quiet, gentle sound, but it hits me with the force of a physical blow. He offers her what I cannot: kindness without complication, admiration without a history of pain. The jealousy is a living thing inside me, a serpent coiling around my heart and squeezing. One evening, after Reese has left her side, I cannot bear it any longer. The sight of her smiling at him has shattered the last of my control. I find her near Vorlag's enclosure, the setting sun casting long shadows across the yard. "He is not for you," I say, my voice harsher than I intend. She turns slowly, her eyebrow raised. "And who is for me, Kaelin?" "You." The use of my name, stripped of its title, is a deliberate intimacy that is more cutting than any insult. The king who declared me a mistake in front of his entire court? "I was wrong," I say, the words tearing from me, raw and ragged. "I was a fool, a coward." I take a step closer, breaking the careful distance we have maintained. The bond flares, a shock of heat and need. She flinches but holds her ground. I was terrified of what they would say, of the whispers, of being seen as weak for choosing a mate they deemed unworthy. My voice breaks on the last word. I sacrificed the most sacred thing in this world for the sake of my pride. There is no excuse. There is no defense. My legs feel weak, the weight of my failure too much to bear. I sink to my knees before her, in the dirt and straw of the stable yard. I lower my head, baring the back of my neck in the ultimate gesture of submission. I do not deserve you, Ilara. I know that. I do not deserve forgiveness, but I am begging for it anyway. My wolf is dying. This kingdom is dying. I am dying. I was wrong. About everything. She says nothing. I can feel her shock, her confusion. I remain kneeling, my head bowed, offering her the ultimate power. She could call her guards. She could walk away. She could kill me where I kneel, and I would not lift a hand to stop her. The silence stretches, filled only by the soft rustle of the straw and the sound of my own ragged breathing. I have laid my broken soul at her feet. The choice is now hers. From the corner of my eye, I see movement. It is Reese, standing in the archway of the stables, a silent witness to my complete and utter surrender. He watches for a long moment, his expression thoughtful, and then he turns and walks away, melting back into the shadows of the castle. Ilara finally speaks, her voice quiet, uncertain. "Get up." I look up at her. Her face is a mask of conflicting emotions: anger, pity, pain, and something else, something I dare not put a name to. I slowly rise to my feet, my entire being aching with the strain of my confession. "Your apology changes nothing," she says, her voice regaining some of its icy control. "The darkness is still coming. We have a wall to guard." She turns and walks away, leaving me standing alone in the deepening twilight, the weight of her non-answer heavier than any rejection. The next morning, Alpha Reese requests an audience. He is leaving. "The roads are no more stable than they were yesterday," I state, my tone flat. "No," he agrees, meeting my gaze without flinching. "But my purpose here is finished." He walks to the window, looking down at the stable yard where Ilara is already at work. She is a remarkable woman. She deserves a life of peace, of kindness, a calm sea. He turns back to me. But her heart does not belong to the calm sea. It belongs to the tempest. "I saw you last night, Kaelin. I saw a king on his knees." My jaw tightens. And I saw a man finally willing to fight for what he threw away. "He is a fool," Reese says, a faint, sad smile on his lips. "But he is her fool. The bond between you, broken as it is a storm that will reshape this world. I will not be the man who stands in the way of a hurricane, hoping to offer it a quiet harbor. It is not my place." He bows, a gesture of respect from one alpha to another. "Win her back. Be the man she deserves. Not for your sake, but for hers." He leaves without another word. His departure is a quiet, dignified retreat, an act of grace that throws my own past dishonor into even sharper relief. He has given her freedom, the freedom to face the storm, to face me, without the complication of a safe alternative. The path is clear now. There is only the darkness without, and the war for her heart within. And I fear I am losing on both fronts. The attacks are growing more ferocious. The Umbra are no longer content to test the edges of our defenses. They are throwing themselves at the walls with a desperate, hungry violence. Ilara is weakening. I can see it in the pale, drawn cast of her face, the faint tremor in her hands after a long night of battle. Wielding her power on this scale is draining her life force. We are in a war of attrition, and we are losing. Tonight, the air is unnaturally cold, heavy with a sense of finality. The moon is a sliver of bone in a black sky. "Something is different," Ilara murmurs, her gaze fixed on the dark line of the forest. They are gathering, all of them, as if summoned by her words. The darkness in the woods begins to churn. It is not the smoky, indistinct forms of the lesser umbra. This is a solid, roiling mass of pure night, a vortex of consuming despair. It rises, coalescing into a single, towering figure, twice the height of a man, with long, spindly limbs and a horned head. Where a face should be, there is only a swirling void that seems to pull the very light from the air. The Shadow Lord. "It is you he wants," I growl, moving to stand slightly in front of her. The last of the shadow callers. The creature lets out a sound that is not a sound, a psychic scream that grates against the inside of my skull. It speaks in my mind, its voice the rustle of 1,000 graves. She is mine. Her power will be my power. Her darkness will feed my endless night. "Over my dead body," I snarl, unsheathing my sword. "That can be arranged." The voice chuckles, a dry, dead sound. The Shadow Lord raises a hand, and a wave of black energy, a tsunami of pure oblivion, rushes toward the wall. Alara steps forward, her own hands outstretched. A shield of deeper, more solid shadow erupts from her, meeting the wave with a silent, concussive force that shakes the very stones of the castle. The impact throws her back a step, a gasp of pain escaping her lips. "Alara!" I shout, grabbing her arm to steady her. Her skin is ice cold. "I can't hold him for long," she pants, her knuckles white as she maintains the shield. "He's too strong. He's consuming everything." The Shadow Lord laughs again. "You are an echo of a forgotten song, little caller. I am the silence that comes after." It takes a step, and the ground beneath it turns to gray dust. It is no longer just attacking the wall. It is unmaking the world as it moves. It raises its other hand, and a spear of solidified night, impossibly black, forms in its grip. It aims not at the wall, not at me, but directly at Alara. Her focus is entirely on maintaining the shield against the crushing wave of its power. She does not see the new threat. Time slows. I see the spear leave the Shadow Lord's hand. I see the path it will take. I see it striking her heart. My wolf, my instincts, my very soul screams one word. No, there is no thought, no decision, only action. I move, shoving her hard, pushing her out of the spear's path. I spin, putting my own body where hers was a moment before. The world becomes a symphony of pain. The spear of shadow hits me high in the shoulder, and the agony is absolute. It is not the clean pain of a steel blade. It is a consuming, necrotic cold that leaches the warmth and life from my body. I feel my strength, my very essence, being siphoned away into the void. I collapse to my knees, my sword clattering on the stones. My vision blurs, the edges turning gray. I look at Alara. She is staring at me, her face a mask of horror, her eyes wide with disbelief. The shield of shadows she was holding has dissolved. "Kaelin!" Her scream is a raw, shattered sound. I try to speak, my throat thick with a cold that is spreading through my veins. "It does not matter." I gasp, the words a struggle. "If you choose me or not, only that you live." This is the only truth left in the world. My life for hers. It is a bargain I would make 1,000 times over. It is the only penance that has any meaning. I have finally proven my change, not with words, but with the only thing I have left to give. My life. Her face, the last thing I see before my vision tunnels to black, is the face of the woman I love. And it is streaked with tears. Seeing him fall is like watching the sun fall from the sky. The spear of darkness, meant for me, is buried in his shoulder. The necrotic cold that radiates from it is a palpable force, a void that chills my very soul. His words, "Only that you live," echo in the sudden, ringing silence. He threw himself in front of it, for me. He took the blow that would have killed me. An action. A definitive, absolute, selfless action. The walls of ice I have so carefully built around my heart do not just crack. They shatter into a million pieces. The pain of the bond, which has been a constant dull ache, now flares into an inferno of agony. It is his pain, his life draining away, and I feel every single drop of it as if it were my own. Mate, the voice inside me, the ancient shadow self, screams with a desperation that is terrifying. Dying. Heal. Claim. I scramble to his side, my knees hitting the cold stone. I reach for him, my hands hovering over the horrific wound. It is not bleeding blood. It is bleeding light, his life force, his alpha power, being devoured by the shadow wound. His skin is turning gray, the warmth fading with terrifying speed. The Shadow Lord on the field below lets out a triumphant, rasping laugh. He is mine now. And you are next, little caller. I look from Kalen's dying form to the monster that killed him, and I feel something I have not felt since the day of my rejection, pure, unadulterated rage. This creature, this walking emptiness, has dared to take what is mine, my mate. The thought is not a question. It is a certainty, a truth that settles into the very marrow of my bones. I have the power. I have it all. I can feel it humming beneath my skin, a vast, dark ocean of it. I could let Kalen die. I could let the wound consume him, and the bond would finally, truly break. I would be free. Free of the pain, free of the history, free of him. I could take my power, my rage, and turn it on the Shadow Lord. I might even win. I would be a queen of ashes, but I would be free. Or I could save him. I could pour my own power, my own life force into him. I could fight the necrotic dark with my own living dark. It would bind me to him forever, not just by the ghost of a fated bond, but by a conscious, irrevocable choice, a true mating. My life intertwined with his, my power with his, for all time. I look at his face, slack and pale in the moonlight. I see the arrogant king who broke me, but I also see the kneeling supplicant in the stable yard, and the man who just gave his life for mine without hesitation. He is not the man he was. He has suffered. He has changed. He has earned this. My choice is clear. There was never really a choice at all. No, I whisper, my voice shaking with the force of my decision. I place my hands on his chest, directly over his heart. I can feel its beat, faint and faltering. You don't get to die. You don't get to leave me. I lean down, my lips close to his ear. I accept this bond, Kalen. I choose you. I choose us. I close my eyes and call to the power within me. Not the cold, defensive shadows I use for fighting, but the deeper, living core of it. The power of twilight, of creation, of the space between stars. I push it from my body, through my hands, and into his. It is not a gentle stream. It is a flood, a deluge of my very essence pouring into the void of his wound. The moment my power touches his, the bond, the true, fated, perfect bond, slams into place. It is not a tear being mended. It is two universes colliding. A wave of force explodes from us, a visible ring of intertwined light, his golden alpha power, and my deep, star-flecked shadow. It blasts outward, washing over the battlements, making the very stones hum with energy. Kalen's eyes fly open. They are no longer just icy blue. They are blazing with golden light. with my own darkness swirling in their depths. The gray, dead color recedes from his skin, replaced by healthy life. The shadow spear in his shoulder dissolves into harmless motes of dust, the wound closing over with new, clean skin. He gasps, not in pain, but taking a deep, shuddering breath of life, of our combined power. He is whole. We are whole. He looks at me, and the love, the adoration, the pure, unshielded soul I see in his gaze is so powerful it steals my breath. Ilara, he breathes, his voice now strong and resonant. We rise together, a single, fluid movement. The power crackling between us is a palpable thing, a storm contained. My shadow magic is no longer just mine. It is amplified, stabilized, and warmed by the core of his alpha strength. His power is no longer just a raging fire. It is deepened, controlled, and given infinite reach by my shadows. We are more than the sum of our parts. On the field, the Shadow Lord stumbles back, its psychic voice now laced with something that sounds like fear. What is this? Two souls as one? It is not possible. Vorlag, who had been standing guard over us, lets out a deafening roar of triumph and approval. He leaps from the battlement, a drop that would kill any other creature, and lands on the field below, a storm of gray fur and righteous fury. He charges the lesser Umbra, tearing through them like they are paper dolls. Kalen takes my hand, our fingers lacing together. The feeling of his skin against mine, of our completed bond singing between us, is home. Together, he asks, his eyes burning into mine. Together, I confirm, my voice ringing with a power I never knew I possessed. We face the Shadow Lord not as a king and his consort, but as two halves of a single entity. I raise my hand, and the shadows of the entire valley answer my call. They are not just shadows anymore. They are infused with the golden light of Kalen's alpha power, turning them into weapons of solid twilight. Kalen raises his, and a wave of pure, commanding energy flows from him, but it is shaped and guided by my will. Our powers are one. No, the Shadow Lord screams as our combined attack hits it. It is not a wave of force. It is an unmaking, a cleansing, a torrent of balanced power, of life and darkness, in perfect harmony that washes over the creature. It dissolves, not into dust, but into pure, clean light, its stolen life force released back into the world. Its final agonized shriek fades into the sudden peaceful silence of the dawn. In the aftermath, the world feels new. The air is clean, the strange cold gone. The rising sun paints the sky in hues of rose and gold. On the field below, the last of the Umbra have vanished, and Vorlag stands over the spot where the Shadow Lord fell, his great head raised to the sky in a silent salute. In the days that follow, order is restored. But it is a new order. The story of the battle, of our bond, of my power, has spread through the castle and the city. The fear and pity in people's eyes has been replaced by awe and respect. A week later, Kalen convenes the full court in the Great Hall, the very place where he rejected me. I stand beside him, not behind him. I wear a gown of midnight blue that feels like a second skin, but my hands are bare, my power a quiet hum beneath the surface. I am not hiding what I am. Not anymore. Kalen looks out over the assembled lords and ladies, the same faces that watched my humiliation. His face is calm, but his voice rings with an authority that is absolute, an authority now tempered with a wisdom born of suffering. You all witnessed my greatest failure in this hall, he begins, his voice silencing every whisper. You saw me break a sacred law out of pride and fear. You saw me cast aside the greatest gift this kingdom has ever been given. His eyes find mine, and the love in them is a steady, warm flame. He then does something that shocks the entire court. He steps down from the raised dais where the high throne sits. He walks to the center of the floor and turns to face them all. Then he drops to one knee, bowing his head. Today, I correct that wrong. This is Ilara of the Blackwood Pack, he announces, his voice echoing in the stunned silence. She is the shadow caller who saved us all. She is my mate, my other half. He looks up, his gaze sweeping over the court, daring anyone to challenge him. Then he looks at me. She is not my queen. She is my alpha. From this day forward, we will rule this kingdom together, as equals. A gasp ripples through the hall. He remains kneeling, a king submitting not just to his mate, but to a new way of ruling. He has learned the hardest lesson of all, that true power is not found in dominance, but in partnership. I walk down from the dais and offer him my hand. He takes it, his grip warm and sure, and rises to his feet. We stand together, facing them, a united front. Months later, I stand on that same balcony where he used to watch me in the stables. His arms are wrapped around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. The kingdom is healing. The land is green and vibrant again. Below, in the courtyard, Vorlag is sunning himself, a contented, massive guardian who occasionally opens one amber eye to make sure we are still here. The scar from the rejection is still there, I know. I can feel it sometimes. A faint, silvery memory over my heart. A reminder of the pain, of the journey. Kaylin has one too. Our scars do not define us, but they are a part of our story. A testament to the fact that what we have was not given, but earned, forged in fire and shadow. He presses a soft kiss to my temple. "What are you thinking about?" he murmurs, his voice a low rumble against my back. I lean back against the solid warmth of his chest, feeling the steady, reassuring beat of his heart. I am not the wolfless stablemate anymore. He is not the arrogant king. We are something new, something stronger. Scarred, yes, but whole. I'm thinking, I say, a small smile playing on my lips, that the scent of pine and rain is my favorite smell in the world. I turn in his arms, wrapping my own around his neck. I am home.